The display started in 1953. It was built by a chap named Ernie Outwin, who has sort of become known as Mr. Christmas in Cobourg. That's how he was lovingly referred to. Ernie was a World War II vet in the Air Force, and after the Air Force came to Cobourg and worked at the Ontario Hospital here, he was the storekeeper. For whatever reason, he decided to built a Christmas display as a gift to his wife that year. He built a mountain out of plaster of Paris and so on, had skiers coming down a hill, had an opening almost like a cave in and out that the hand-carved horses and sleigh ran through. That was the original display, and he showed it at his apartment building on King Street. I can remember as a young kid going there and pressing our noses up against the glass and looking at this marvelous thing that was going round and round. In the early 1980s, Ernie sold his apartment building, and obviously he no longer had a home for the display. And I was manager of the public utilities at the time, and I hunted and fished with Ernie, and he came to see me one day and asked if he could put it in the front window of the public utilities office, which had a nice big expansive window, and so I certainly agreed. I thought it would be great for all of Cobourg, and certainly was a boost for the utilities in a public relations sense. A few days later, Ernie showed back up and said that he'd been working on making this display bigger for many, many years, and his hope was that he would always have a window large enough to add to it. So he did that, and I guess about a week or so later, he showed up with a couple of 4x8 sheets of plywood with all these moving figures, motorized moving figures, and the display started to grow from there. I think probably the best compliment you could give to it is that it's loved by all kids, young and old. You'll see as many 80-year-olds, 70-year-olds out in front of the window smiling and pointing at different objects moving and so on, as well as, of course, the little kids who are just fixated by Christmas in general, and certainly it's a very magical looking display. After I left the public utilities, Ernie moved it to the mall, where they had a nice big window, and it was probably as big as it ever got at the mall. He was there for a couple of years, and then we bought the hardware store downtown, which again had a great big window, and actually we had a couple of great interviews there with CTV, National News. They did it 2 different years as their Christmas Eve special, and so it was that part was very, very special. Many years ago, Ernie, through a friend of his, contacted Guinness, the world record people, and is officially listed in the Guinness World Book of Records as the longest continuing running Christmas display. When Ernie was dying, 1994, 95, he had cancer, and so for 2 or 3 years, I set it up, and that was my learning curve those first couple of years. But the last year before he died, he said, "I'm not going to be able to help at all, and it needs painting." And I said, "We've already got it painted, Ernie. We paint the snow every couple of years and so on because it tends to yellow." When we got it going, my daughter went over to Streamway, picked him up, brought him over, and he broke down and said that it looked wonderful. And he said, "I'm going to will it to your dad because I know he'll always show it for me." So that's the story. Couldn't let him down.